Well, thank you, Speaker. I guess the answer to my last question was a no. So we'll go to my next. For over a year, the Premier has insisted that scrapping clean energy would lead to a 12% reduction in hydro bills. Now that contracts have been scrapped and the price tag for scrapping them has gone from $0, and I'm sure you remember, Speaker, to $231 million, can the minister tell families when they can expect their bills to go down?
Minister of Energy, Northern Development and Mines.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear on the cost savings from scrapping more than 750 of these projects. $790 million in net present value. Now, Mr. Speaker, that's not accommodating for inflationary rates. That's not accommodating for the fact that this would in fact fortify a system, Mr. Speaker, that has become so complex and so expensive it runs the risk of putting Ontario out of business, Mr. Speaker, and families are spending too much more for their energy. We've taken the kinds of extraordinary steps, most of them by the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we have a path to reduce hydro rates in the province of Ontario, and it's coming soon, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't think he quite addressed the question there. After 1 year of the Ford government, hydro bills are higher than they have ever been. In fact, they're climbing. The Ford government strategy so far has consisted of meddling at Hydro One and tearing up contracts for renewable energy. That's made a lot of money for energy companies, raking in hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation for bungled contracts. But families are still waiting for relief. Speaker.
Order.
Can the minister tell families when they can expect their bills to go down?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it just occurred to me, Mr. Speaker, that the impact of the increase in hydro rates from 2009 to 2015, which ranged from 5.5% every year to 22% every year, fully endorsed by the member opposite, Mr. Speaker, in cahoots with the previous Liberal government, Mr. Speaker, because it wasn't on the bill. You see, they didn't have to hide it. An inflationary rate this past November 1st, we take very seriously, Mr. Speaker, and we've spent the last year making sure that we get rid of the things and pressures that have been in our system to make this one of the most complex and expensive there is. But that member, Mr. Speaker, has never had to account for the fact that in November 1st, 2015, he gave a ringing endorsement for a 22% increase in the ratepayers of Ontario. That's the people of Kenora, Mr. Speaker, the people of Thunder Bay, the residents who live in Keewatin, Mr. Speaker. You name the community, they paid way too much, and he voted.
Thank you. The final supplementary. Order. Government side, come to order. Government side, come to order. Restart the clock. Member for Toronto Danforth, final supplementary.
Yeah, well, thank you, Speaker. I think they're getting a bit touchy on that side. Speaker, if the Premier's job was to make energy companies millions of dollars, he's done an amazingly good job. Let's face it, right? The U.S. energy company Avista took home a $103 million cancellation fee when the Premier bungled a deal with them. Renewable energy providers here in Ontario will be paid at least $231 million not to generate electricity. But families aren't getting a break. They're certainly not seeing a 12% reduction in their bills as was promised. Does the Ford government have any intention of delivering on their promise to reduce hydro bills by 12%?
Once again, the Minister of Energy to reply.
Well, we certainly do, Mr. Speaker, and it started with an act that some might have deemed colloquial in nature, Mr. Speaker, but it was the Clean Up the Hydro Mess Act, the mess that was created by the previous government and supported 100% of the time by the official opposition. 90 communities. No less than 90 communities across this province, Mr. Speaker, said that they were unwilling host communities to the Green Energy Act. Mr. Speaker, I think that's grounds to repeal that act, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Speaker, and that's exactly what we did. And we scrapped 750 projects that went with it, Mr. Speaker, because they were going to continue to support the most complex and expensive energy system we have, Mr. Speaker. We are finally at a place where we have gotten rid of all the ridiculous things that were built into our energy system, baked into it, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to deliver on a promise to reduce hydro rates for major employers, small businesses, seniors, Indigenous communities, Mr. Speaker, and communities all across our great province.
Thank you very much.